Today, we're going to dive into a massive shift in how business-to-business sales are won. I'm talking about a whole new playbook, because the old one, it's basically broken. We're going to talk about a new strategy that can lock in the win long before your sales team ever even makes a call.
So let's just jump right into the numbers that are driving all of this. According to Gartner, a massive 61% of B2B buyers now prefer an experience that is completely free of sales reps. And we're not talking about a small group here. That's a huge majority of your potential customers who are actively trying to do this on their own.
And if that wasn't enough, check this out. Forrester data, it shows a staggering 86% of all B2B purchases just stall. They hit a wall. Yeah, you heard that right. For most companies, the deal just dying somewhere in the process, that's the default outcome.
So, what's the typical reaction? Well, companies just double down on the old way of doing things, right? More outreach. But what happens then? Well, a huge 73% of buyers will actively avoid you if you hit them with irrelevant outreach. So trying to force that conversation, it's not just a waste of time, you're literally pushing them away.
So, okay, all of this brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If buyers are in the driver's seat, if they're avoiding your sales team, and they're getting stuck on their own, how on earth are you supposed to win?
Well, to find that answer, we've got to accept one simple but massive truth. The buyer has changed completely. Seriously, what worked just a few years ago is actually a liability today.
Think about it. Today's buyer, they're basically a professional researcher. They're knocking out almost two major research activities, like comparing prices, digging into tech specs, all before they even think about talking to a person. And when they do finally reach out, it's not for the brochure stuff. They need deep, specific answers they just couldn't find anywhere else.
So the most common reaction to this new world, it's totally predictable and completely wrong. It's something we can call the outreach trap.
And this is where you see this huge disconnect, right? On one side, you have what buyers want, and on the other, what vendors are actually doing. Buyers are begging for self-service tools, but what do they get? Interruptions. They want deep contextual intelligence. They get generic info. And look, the key thing to get here is that this is not a timing problem. Reaching out earlier isn't the fix. It's a value problem, plain and simple. You're creating friction where you should be creating value.
And the result of that is, well, it's pretty clear. Trying to get in there earlier without actually changing what you bring to the table, all you're doing is frustrating your buyer faster. You're not helping them, you're just getting in their way. Okay, so if the old way is a trap, what's the answer? Where do we go from here? It all comes down to a complete strategic shift, a value-first shift.
So the new playbook, it's all built around this one core idea, pre-engagement utility. And listen, this is not just about making better blog posts or fancier white papers. It's a whole new system, an operational system, really. It's designed to deliver real, measurable value that actually helps a buyer make progress all before they ever have to talk to a human.
Now, I know that might sound a little abstract, but it's actually built on three really concrete, really actionable pillars. Let's break them down.
Okay, pillar number 1, decision-relevant insight. This is where you go way beyond generic content. We're talking about giving them tools they can actually use, like a calculator, an assessment, a configuration tool, something that gives them a real answer for their specific situation. The goal here is for them to not just read information, but to produce a specific conclusion that's all about them.
Next up, pillar number 2, transparent access to decision criteria. Think about it. Today's buyers, mostly millennials and Gen Z, they're used to a B2C world. They expect everything to be right there. They are not going to fill out a Contact Us form just to get basic stuff like pricing, timelines, or tech specs. You have to remove those gates. Being transparent builds instant trust.
And that brings us to our third and final pillar, credibility through validation. Look, just slapping a few company logos on your homepage, that's not going to cut it anymore. This self-sufficient buyer, they're trying to reduce their risk. They need hard proof. We're talking third-party verification, independent benchmarks, and really specific case studies from customers who look exactly like them and have solved the exact same problem.
So what happens when you actually build your strategy around these 3 pillars? Well, the entire dynamic of the sale just flips on its head. You start winning before that first conversation ever even happens.
And the payoff? Oh, it's very real. First, you'll see more buyers actually reaching out to you. They'll initiate the contact because you've already helped them. Second, the qualification cycle gets way shorter. Why? Because they've basically already done it themselves. And third, and this is huge, the quality of the deals goes way, way up.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The data on deal quality is just wow. It makes it crystal clear.
Gartner found that with the old, sales-led approach, only about 24% of purchases end up being a high-quality deal. But when you empower buyers to navigate on their own with these high-utility tools, that number jumps to 65%. I mean, that is an absolutely massive difference.
So, here's the bottom line. The whole game is shifting. It's moving away from just distributing content to delivering real utility. And when you get this right, you become the default choice. You're the one they measure everyone else against. And your competitors, the ones still pushing out PDFs, they basically become invisible.
And that really leaves us with one final and I think pretty powerful question to think about. In this new reality, the question isn't, can my sales team close? The real question is, does my utility actually earn us the right to even have the conversation?